record that, because I can't. Good afternoon, welcome to Whitehaven. Glorious afternoon. Halifax fresh from the Challenge Cup victory over highly fancied Castleford last week. But Anthony Farrell brought his players down to earth with a bang and reminded them that as yet they've no National League points and they're hoping to earn the first ones this afternoon. And Anthony Farrell also believes this is the toughest place that Halifax will play in National League One. Always a tough ask at Whitehaven. Halifax suffering big defeats, both home and away, at the hands of the Cumbrians last season. And still no Freddie Tuilange or Ricky Sharif for Anthony Farrell's side. Ben Black also out. Andy Spink not recovering, and Andy Hobson still a long-term casualty, about 3-4 weeks away from playing. Damien Gibson's at full-back, James Haley, James Bunyan, Antti Blackwood and Alan Adcroft for three-quarters. Wayne Corcoran is at 6, and Dean Lawford back to fitness after missing last week, an instant replacement for Ben Black at 7. Chris Birchall passed a late fitness test and lines up in the front row with Ben Fisher. And Chris Morley, David Larder and Jamie Bloom the second row. Pat Wisner is the loose forward. Johnny Simpson, Jody Sharif and Ryan McDonald and Jason Bolts are on the bench, and the bench indicates what sort of match Anthony Farrell's expecting this afternoon, playing 4 props on the bench as Whitehaven play from left to right and are driven sideways in the tackle. Birchall took a knock to the temple in that first tackle there. Whitehaven, Gary Broadbent at full back, Craig Calvert, David Seeds, Mick Nanning and Wesley Wilson form a three-quarter line that's capable of going over the whitewash and have a bag full of tries between them already this season. Leroy Joe and Joel Penny are the half-backs. Penny the replacement for Sam Hobbs, who's moved on to Wakefield, and Carl Rudd has opened up the Halifax defence immediately. He's at loose forward, Neil Baines on loan, Aaron Lesser, David Fatiola the front row, Brett McDermott, Craig Chambers the second row, Steve Kirkbride, Aaron Summers, Carl Sykes and Mark Cox on the bench for Whitehaven. And Halifax with the first scrum, and despite the quick charge by Halifax in the early tackles, Whitehaven have still got into the Halifax quarter of the field at the end of the tackle count. Referee this afternoon is Ben Taylor from Wakefield, as Gibson runs the ball up to the 10, met by Gary Broadbent, who's sporting the headgear. Whitehaven moving in quickly to bring down Birchall. Morley is hit hard by Fatty Alofa. Ball comes loose but went backwards. Well, Ben Taylor quick to blow the whistle there, but it looked as though it went backwards. Ball lost on impact. I don't think it was a pass, and that's why he's called the knock on. So Whitehaven with a first chance to attack, with Penny feeding the scrum, getting it out to Broadbent. Broadbent followed by Gibson and Bunyan, and finally put down 15 metres away from the Halifax line. It's a bit of a dip on that far side of the field. It's about 5 metres in from touch. The ground seems to take a bit of a dip and then rise back up again towards the touch line. Short ball to Fatty Alofa from Joel Penny. Not the best of passes. Fatty Alofa is quickly marked by the Halifax defence. Now back to the left hand side, long pass out wide, and David Seeds immediately tries to take advantage. Whitehaven moving it out wide again. Penny, the inside ball to Neil Baines on loan from Salford, rumoured to be a target from Halifax prior to signing Tuilange. Last tackle, Halifax defence left wanting. There's a high tackle, but it's not going to matter because on the first attack, Craig Chambers, the former Kells player, has gone over the line for the try. And I'm not sure whether the referee will be speaking to somebody over the high tackle. And as well, they should have gone downstairs. Chambers back to his feet. A quick word for Bunyan, who was perhaps going the other way and had to turn back inside. An inside ball was turned back inside. But Halifax fail defensively on the last tackle. With what is the first real attack towards Halifax line, and Nanning tries up the lines up a fairly easy conversion from 12 metres away. And a blow to Halifax after only 5 minutes. Chambers' first try. Halifax were perhaps left a bit light on that far side. Whitehaven taking full advantage, and Chambers going over despite the high shot. Nanning reliable as ever with the boot. And Halifax trail 6-0, and the game not yet 6 minutes old. The first attack from Whitehaven, but it came, as it has done so many times this season, from an Halifax header, from a knock-on when the ball was squeezed out in the tackle. Well, that just makes the task a little bit harder for Halifax, as Lawford kicks the ball long to that 10-metre line, and Neil Baines is a recipient of the first tackle, and he makes it to the 20. Fish around the ankles, quickly up into the line. Fatty hello for Whitehaven, relying on these two big props. And Chambers running forward again, and Whitehaven up to the 40-metre line, so Halifax being pushed back again, as they were against Castleford in the first 10 minutes last week. Whitehaven with the one win under the belt against Barrow in the opening match of the National League One. They suffered defeat in the first competitive match of the NRL Trophy. Hardcroft taken out, penalty to Halifax. So we're saying lost in the first match of the National Rail Cup, but hit back and scored over 40 points in every match in the competition after that, so they certainly set down the warning. And Ben Thaler quick to penalise Chambers there for the second attempt after the tackle had been made. Dean Lawford trying to pinch a couple of metres there as Ben Thaler pushes back the Halifax side, and Lawford will put the ball in on the Whitehaven 40-metre line. First time for Halifax in the Whitehaven half of the field with the ball, and Bloom almost through a gap there, but there's a three-man tackle. Corcoran turns it back inside for Birchall. And three men out to meet him, out to meet the tackle again, Lawford. Whitehaven a bit light as Wisner turns it back inside to Blackwood, and Blackwood has taken a high one off Nanning. So 3 quick penalties for Halifax, this one in a kickable range. Early in the game, Lawford I think already looking at the post. Both sides being warned now to keep the tackle down, and it looks like Halifax are going for the 6 rather than the 2 as Morley takes the first run in. Long ball out from Wisner to Bloom. Bloom steps back inside. Fisher finding the pass to Wisner. Gibson out to Bunyan. Bunyan taking what looked like a high tackle there off David Seeds. Well, the touch judge has seen something on that far side and stepped onto the field. And Halifax will have a 4th quick penalty in succession. And this one, they'll run again by the look of it. Well, I don't think it's malicious play. It's just hard rugby league. but the tackles are right. Referee speaking to Aaron Lester as Corcoran puts the ball back to give Halifax a little more room to attack that Whitehaven line. Fisher to Lawford, Lawford to Birchill, an ever willing runner, turned upside down onto his back by 3 Whitehaven defenders. Morley the dummy runner, Lawford just getting hold of that one. Wisner gets it out to Gibson, Gibson to Adcroft, Adcroft trying to go under 2, and then there's a third, joins the defensive line. Halifax stringing the passes together. Wisner gets the ball away to Birchill, and Birchill almost into the gap there, and he waves play on because Birchill didn't go down as Fisher goes for the line. Fisher will reach the line, get through the 2 defenders and put the ball down. Well, once or twice this season, Chris Birchill probably being guilty of forcing passes that weren't on, and he managed somehow not to go down in the tackle there and pop the ball up for Fisher, who still had work to do. They were too old of him, but he squeezed the arm out of the tackle, put the ball down. Halifax's first attack, like Whitehaven's, finishes with a 4-pointer. Whitehaven 6, Halifax 4. Well, Ben Fisher has proved a valuable asset to this side since his arrival from Australia, and proved it once again there, the lively little hooker. Good pass from Birchill though, again out of the tackle. And Whitehaven scrambling back but couldn't stop the little hooker going over the line and putting it down within range for Bloom, who slots over his 15th goal of the season. Scores level again, Whitehaven 6, Halifax 6. And Halifax were assisted there by 4 penalties from referee Ben Thaler. 2 for high tackles, close to that Whitehaven line. And Halifax taking full advantage of it. Nanning down towards Lawford, who has the sun in his eyes. He gives it inside to Bloom. And Bloom makes it back. And might have got a pass away there, there being the support, but went down in the tackle. Haley comes in off the wing. Gibson helping out the forwards again. Caught by Fatty Loafer. Haley goes again, and Haley and Gibson have made good meters for Halifax away from their own line. Here goes Gibson again from acting half, and he takes Halifax up to halfway. So fullback and winger combining and helping the forwards out. Lawford goes to get the kick away, trying to split winger and fullback. It went to Wesley Wilson, and Halifax were judged to have been offside. Well, nothing wrong with the voice of the Whitehaven supporters sat around us. Baines again takes the first run and manages to unload the ball to Rudd, who's proving elusive once again, almost away from Birchill. And another penalty given away. Bloom holds his hand up. Well, it's within range for Nanning at 30 metres out. Whitehaven coach Steve McCormack without the services of Howard Hill, Craig Walsh and Paul Davidson. And Craig Walsh only beat Halifax virtually single-handed up here, did Walsh. Every time he got the ball something came of it last season. But Carl Rudd proving an able deputy in the loose forward position. And Nanning pumps the ball through the middle of the post. And it's another try of another penalty. Bloom this time. All the points so far are coming off mistakes and penalties. Lawford will restart again. This time keeping it low. Leicester on the ground giving it inside, but it's Baines again that's the first runner. Met by Birchall and Bloom, and Fisher there as well. Baines back to the 20-metre line. Broadbent doing as Gibson does, trying to help out the forwards and trying to pinch yards as well as Fatty Loafer comes off the short ball. And Corcoran forced into slowing down the big prop. Bloom finishing the job off. Leroy Joe, another man that caused problems for Halifax last season. Off to that left-hand side again. Halifax could be caught. Lawford just gets the ball down. But the touch judge has seen something on that far side. Whitehaven supporters are complaining at this side, but they don't even think they saw what happened. There's some bad feeling there between Fatty Loafer and Bunyan. Ben Thaler waving players away until he gets the judge judge's report on what happened. And whoever it is leaving. James Bunyan. Halifax down to 12. He's going to pull captains out now and give them both a warning, because there's a lot of penalties being given for high tackles, and Bunyan has just made Halifax's task even more formidable, because Halifax have 4 props on the bench. Well, the Whitehaven supporters are booing James Bunyan off the field, but the ones at this side, they couldn't possibly have seen what happened. Does that hamper Halifax, or does it give Halifax more room? Well, the next 65 minutes will tell, as Whitehaven get the third penalty. 7 penalties in around 15 metres. That's a pretty high count, and Whitehaven now will have a man advantage for that next 65 minutes. And Halifax will be up against it. Fatty Low for the first runner. 22 metres out, Whitehaven looking to put the pressure on. Here comes Baines again. Short ball from Baines to Broadbent. But it all went pear-shaped as the ball has knocked on and gone forward. And that's helped Halifax's cause a little. Baines trying to force a pass where he'd been better off taking the tackle. So the Halifax backline will be rearranged. Blackwood will take the first run from the back of the scrum and look for the quick play of the ball. Fisher to Birchall, who makes it up to the 30. Hadcroft will go from acting half, try to duck inside. Blackwood trying to use his strength up to the 5 metres from halfway. Fisher to Lawford. Lawford gets the kick away down the touchline and forces Whitehaven back into their own 20. Well, it may become more and more into this game. Lawford's kicking, because Halifax will try to push Whitehaven back at every opportunity. And if that means with a boot, then so be it, because it's Halifax a man down, of course. We'll now be looking to stop Whitehaven pouring forward as Nanning takes the ball and is quickly caught by the defence. This is another aspect that may cause problems for Halifax, in the way that they have to go in 2 or 3 at a time perhaps, and shouting for a high tackle again there. Whitehaven supporters. Halifax defending solidly as Whitehaven make it up to the 30. Fatty Loafer bounces off Morley, and then he's thrown to the ground by Bloom. And Halifax struggling on that far side. Hooker running riot. There's a chance on here, and the ball will Gibson get to it first? Well, he has done, and he's only just managed to knock it dead. So that's the problem that Halifax face. A man light. Defence having to pull in. It leaves options on the outside. And Halifax will be forced to drop out from under the post. And after exerting themselves in defence early in those last 6 tackles, they'll now have to do it near their own line. The referee waits for the ball and stops the clock because he thinks Halifax are playing for time as Rudd gives it to Baines. Morley goes down in front of him, puts his body on the line as they say, but it's Fisher and Birchall who finish off the tackle. Fatty Alofa is tackled. Most of this Whitehaven side settled after McCormack took them to within 3 minutes of Super League glory last week. Broadbent steps inside. Went out of the Challenge Cup last week, 44 points to 4 at the JJB. Leroy Joe shows the ball, tries to step inside, had Chambers screaming again. A good ankle tap from Corcoran. Long ball out wide. Chances are here because Halifax are left with no centre on that far side. And Craig Calvert, who got a hat-trick midweek, he's about 9 tries this season as a winger, goes over for Whitehaven's second try. And Whitehaven stretch the lead. It's Whitehaven 12, Halifax 6. And it really isn't the start that Anthony Farrell wanted. And Halifax are going to suffer for Bunyan not being down that side. Leaves James Haley more or less on his own when the ball's thrown out wide. I think it was Haley that went for the interception. It's do or die. Didn't get the ball, and Calvert strolled in from 10 metres out. So McNanny with his most difficult kick of the afternoon so far. Way out on that far touch line. Chris Morley being replaced by Jason Bultz as this kick takes place. And there's not many cheers from the Whitehaven support at the back of the post as the ball drifts to the right hand side. Dean Lawford will once again find himself restarting from the centre spot. Still to this, well, I thought it was going to the near side, but it's dropping just under the post. And it's Baines again, not surprisingly. Corcoran wrestling for the ball, managing to bring down Halifax, have a man down on the floor. And I think it's Chris Birchall that's in the wars again. Went in to stop Neil Baines. Well, the problems continue for Halifax. Chris Birchall struggled a bit all week after taking a knock and hobbling off against Castleford last week. And it looks like this is the end of the match for Chris Birchall, with the referee indicating that a stretcher may be needed and the Halifax doctor onto the field. So on comes the stretcher, and it looks like Ryan McDonald was warming up anyway. Coach Farrell chose to have 4 props on the bench, and the second one, Ryan McDonald, will be onto the field now and will probably have to stay longer than planned. Unless by some miracle they can get Chris Birchall fit to return in the second half, which looks unlikely at this stage. And MacDonald, of course, local to this area. And the referee already making some sort of indication to Ryan MacDonald with the elbow. So the injury list will grow once again for Anthony Farrell as Birch will be carried from the field. Well, as in the walls a bit is Birch. He plays through the pain barrier, but not on this occasion. Leaves the field on a stretch. I'm not sure what the injury is. Referee ready to continue as Halifax try to muscle up in defence again, sending 3 into the tackle. Fatty Loafer charging it forward for Halifax against Broadbent. Chased and brought down by Fisher just inside the Halifax half. And Halifax letting Whitehaven move a bit with the ball. Rudd took one off somebody there. And Wisner is pulling out, so that's another cheap penalty for Whitehaven. Well, there's been enough warnings already. Halifax looking not to be down to 11. Captain Pat Wisner should know better than that, especially down to 12 men. That'll be hard enough. Down to 11, it'll be virtually impossible. Here comes Baines again. And Fisher once again round the legs. 3 men left there as the hooker Leicester tries to scoot down the right-hand side. And now Whitehaven have men queuing up on that far side, but rely on Fatty Loafer to take it down the middle into the defence. Halifax needing to pull across on that far side. Leroy Joe puts the chip through, and there's problems here as Gibson just manages to clear the ball dead. Well, if Whitehaven rely on the kick ball, then it's a 50-50 chase. And I think Damien Gibson will back himself on them. That's twice he's cleared the Halifax lines. And Halifax will be happy, I think, if Whitehaven do continue with a kicking option. I think that one went straight into touch on the full. So that'll be another 2 points for Whitehaven right under the post. So Nanning will stretch the lead from in front of the post to 8 points. Whitehaven will be 14, I'm sure of it. And Halifax will stay on 6. And Nanning pumps that one right out of the back of the ground behind those sticks at the far side. So Lawford, if nothing, is getting plenty of practice at kicking off this afternoon, as that one hangs a little bit in the wind, and Baines is the runner again. Halifax are there to bring Baines down 15 metres from the line. Calvert helping out the forwards, gets up to the 20. Fatty Alofa's going to be the runner on the shots. Well, he's a dummy runner as Chambers tries to go down that left-hand side. Fatty Alofa inside, Halifax going upstairs, and Fatty Alofa still allowed to pump the legs until McDonald gets there. The tackle made on the 40, and now Halifax pushed back with a 40-20. Will that? Well, it's going to bounce in touch. Is it Gibson? Well, Gibson managed to keep the ball in touch and his feet went out. Well, Gibson not happy with the decision from the touch judge, but it looked as though Gibson had managed to keep the ball in the field of play before his feet had gone out. But Whitehaven will get the advantage at the scrum. Huge kick by Joel Pennick. Gives Whitehaven the advantage, and they have men queuing up out on that far side. Leroy Joe running across the face of the defence. Gibson trying to make amends with a good tackle on the half-back, but Gibson, Broadbent looked as though he was going to continue to the left then and came back inside. He's setting Whitehaven to within 8 metres. Now they move it again to the right with Penny. Short ball to Baines, who runs into 3 on the 10-metre line. Quickly made 4 by Fisher, but they couldn't put the big man down. Rudd bounces off the first tackle of Blackwood and looked a little bit stunned by the impact of it. Baines from short range throws out the pass. Leroy Joe again using the kicking option, and James Ailey happy to kick it dead. Well, they've had a mountain of possession of Whitehaven, and like Castleford last week, they've only had 2 points to show for it in the last 10 minutes, despite all the pressure. But Halifax forced to drop out from under the posts again. Lawford gets it to halfway, where Wilson picks it up. 2 tries did Wilson in that grand final last year. Heartbreaking times for Whitehaven. They'll be looking for an improvement on that this season. And so far it's all going to plan as Leicester pushes Larder away. Penny has support from Fatty Alofa, didn't use him, and eventually Bolts is the man that wraps up the Australian half-back. Whitehaven 10 metres away. Halifax defence stretch. Leroy Joe, inside ball again from Chambers, and will this be Bloom that gets his marching orders? He's pulling Pat Wiseman out. Halifax could be down to 11. Well, it might go on report this. He's pointing to the next one goes off, but how long is that going to go on for? So it's another penalty. Whitehaven will try to ram home the advantage with Baines trying to turn in the tackle. Swamped by 3 metres away. Well, it's hard to say how Halifax can hold out after Whitehaven have had the ball for at least a full 10 minutes, but Fatty Alofa has come up with the error. Well, they must be wondering what they're doing wrong, because they're saying his Halifax man was pulled back there. So Halifax will get the 5th penalty. And boy, do they need it from under their own post after all that pressure from Whitehaven. It's Whitehaven 14, Halifax 6, as McDonald charges into Nanning. Nanning has a second snap. Penny gets round the legs. That's the only way to put a man down. Rudd there as well. Wisner gives it to Jason Bolts, who was almost from a standing start there. Flattened by Nanning in the centre. Lawford to Larder, who steps inside the first attempt to tackle from Leroy Joe. And he's put down by Chambers. Bloom will go on his own, but he's on the end of a big tackle from McDermott, the second rower. Lawford has to pick it off the floor, then gets it out to Wisner. Wisner, Adcroft with little room to work in, has to take the inside option. Wisner to Lawford, and Lawford kicks out wide. Well, it's drifting. Ailey's come up with it, and Ailey hasn't the speed to get away. It's the last tackle. Whitehaven are still trailing back. Can Halifax make anything of it as the ball goes to ground? But picked up by the Whitehaven defence. Well, obviously Halifax still have a little bit of something left in them, but it depends how much they've got left defensively to keep Whitehaven near their own line. Or will it be another cheap penalty? MacDonald went for the swing but didn't make the contact. Broadbent charges the ball forward and has made the most yards out of these set of 6 so far for Whitehaven. They'll go back down that left-hand side knowing that Halifax have no centre. Well, I thought they were, and then they came back inside. But Halifax have worked well in defence there, and that's given a penalty. Well, that one has been played for and won by the hooker for Whitehaven. Well, I think Halifax have been conned a bit there by the hooker, and it's put them back right into their own half with a kick as Max Cox comes on for Whitehaven. 2 props being replaced. This is the other replacement, Aaron Summers, playing for the penalty. Fatih Alofa and Baines off the field. Nanning into the gap. Nanning steps out of the tackle. It's hard to see Gibson stopping him. Made the effort but didn't get the big centre. And the pressure finally tells at a time when Halifax had held out for so long. But once again, it's come off a penalty that Halifax, well, I'm not sure there's so much conceded as we're conned by the hooker, Leicester. But it's in the bag for Nanning as he stepped through. Hard man to stop. Gibson tried. Couldn't get round the legs of the centre. And Nanning has stretched the lead. Whitehaven 18, Halifax 6. Well, the third Whitehaven try, Nanning's 4th. Or will be 4th success if he actually puts it over. Well, the inquest goes on behind the post. But it ain't going to get easier for Halifax this afternoon as Nanning pulls that one just inside of the left-hand upright. With his 4th success, and that stretches the lead. Whitehaven 20, Halifax 6, and it's hard to see where Halifax points are going to come from if in fact they do get in it. And they'll no doubt tired as the match goes on with only 12 men. Well, Anthony Farrell's half-time team talks have worked wonders the last couple of weeks. Well, it's going to have to be a good one this week. Well, with stoppages, I reckon there's about 5 minutes left of this half. Summers drives the ball forward, almost up to the 40. MacDonald has a bit of a shove. Gap opening up there for Leicester. Quickly closed by the Halifax defence, 5 metres from halfway. Back to Pennant as the Whitehaven supporters shouting for offside. That one will test Haley, and he's going to have to put it dead. Is Haley. Well, it hangs there. There's a bit of a dip in the ground, and it hangs up there. And it's noticeable that when they do kick the ball and it goes dead, that Whitehaven are quick to put the ball back to towards Damien Gibson under the post in the hope of forcing a quicker dropout, which I don't think they'll get. Halifax not in a rush to get back into defence as the referee once again has to stop the clock. And Dean Lawford kicks it down the middle of the field, only makes the 40 this time. And it's picked up by Rudd, who's already caused problems for this Halifax defence. Bloom misses him. It's a good job Haley didn't on the 20-metre line. Whitehaven looking to post some more points before the half-time hooter. Cox off the short pass. Good tackling from Larder. Once again, Fisher, as always, downstairs around the man, around the legs. Leicester, Leroy Joe, the short ball to Chambers, and Chambers over. 2 quick tries in succession, and that might be the match before the first 40 minutes are up for Whitehaven. Chambers' second try, so easy on that far side for Whitehaven. Halifax without the defensive talents of James Bunyan since as early as the 8th or 9th minute. Well, there's a large contingent of Halifax supporters made it up the M6 this afternoon, but not what they expected to see at the Whitehaven ground this afternoon. Halifax reduced to 12 men and Whitehaven running riot, and it's a hard road for the rest of this match for Halifax, who now trail 24 points to 6 without the kick to come from with a kick yet to come from Nanning. And Steve McCormack on the touchline telling his players to carry on and hammer on the advantage. I don't think they'll have any problem doing that against 12 men. As Nanning puts another 2 points on the Whitehaven total with his 5th successful 2-pointer. It's Whitehaven 26, Halifax 6. Halifax tested again in defence, and obviously feeling the effects of having to make up for the lack of James Bunyan. Lawford hoists it high in the air on the short one, and Blackwood got to it first but couldn't keep hold of it. Well, perhaps that's Halifax's only chance of getting hold of possession, something they've lacked for long periods of this first half. And once again, they'll be starved of the ball as Whitehaven feed the scrum with Joel Pennett out to Broadbent stepping around Wisner into the arms of Jason Bolts. Summers long striding forward, gets back to his feet, and MacDonald will have a second go, and riding a fine line, and the offer's on there from the Whitehaven replacement to MacDonald, bring it on, and I think the offer was made back by MacDonald. Well, Halifax, one more indiscretion, and there could be a man going off as Bloom runs it up into 3, just inside the Whitehaven half. He's finally put down. Leroy Joe all over the top of him. Adcroft will go from acting half into Summers. Fisher to Larder. Larder tackled by Leicester. Halifax have made it to the Whitehaven 30. Wisner to Adcroft, and the ball goes loose. Well, nothing going right for Halifax when they do get possession. Well, at least there'll be a low error count anyway, because they've not had the ball long enough to make any big mistakes. And Halifax without a fullback at the moment as Gibson comes up into the line. So there could be a kick from Leroy Joe, and there is here, and the chase is on now as Haley tries to get back to it. Halifax will be first there. Haley will pick it up. The tackle's made, the chase is good. Adcroft gets it away to Fisher, I think it is, who's tried to take the ball away, as does Damien Gibson. The ultrasound for the end of the first half. The first half which went badly wrong for Halifax after the dismissal of James Bunyan. Chambers with a first try. That was after an attempted tackle by Bloom. Nanning converted for 6-0, but Halifax hit back on the first attack with a try from Fisher, conversion from Bloom, but 3 further tries from Calvert, Nanning, Chambers with his second, and Nanning kicking for fun, just one failure from that far touchline. Halifax up against it in the second half. Whitehaven 26, Halifax 6.